Okay, my name is Lexa, for those of you who I haven't met before. And I went to school at University of Michigan. I graduated. I have degrees in music education and music performance. Just out of curiosity, for the sake of this presentation, does anyone have any experience learning instruments or vocals? Elena? Kind of? No, Jamie?
Saxophone.
Well, yes, saxophone, that was my first instrument. um, so that's good to know because this presentation will just be focusing on music and the English language, but specifically connecting musical skills and knowledge to teaching English language learning. So many people talk about learning, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to get the icon to move to the side of the screen, but many people talk about learning music like you would a language. But for this presentation, I thought it would be interesting to look at it kind of the reverse way. So how you can learn language like you would music. And this can seem interchangeable, but when you focus on the music skills and knowledge first, I think you can learn some new insights into learning a language. So first though, I thought let's look at the similarities between music and language. And both subjects heavily involve literacy, fluency, and creativity. And literacy involves being able to read, speak, listen, and write in whatever discipline you are practicing. So this could be language or music, but it could also be math or even coding. This is called disciplinary literacy. We actually had to study this in my classes at Michigan. And at first I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand why we're studying literacy. But then when I actually took the class, I was like, this is really helpful. And now here I am learning about teaching English. And so I'm really happy that I took those classes. And then fluency involves being able to express yourself freely with whatever discipline. So both music and language involve these skills in similar ways as a form of self-expression, whereas in some disciplines, self-expression is not maybe the focus as much, but both music and language rely heavily on the creative side of learning. There's something almost indescribable when you feel the music or the language that you are taking part in is part of your identity. So some might even say that it's part of like your soul. And having the ability to access these parts of ourselves is deeply rewarding and maybe part of the reason why music and language are so heavily studied. And all students have musical experiences, even just listening to their favorite song or studying an instrument for years. So using this prior experiences to bridge learning between the two subjects can both enhance learning and motivate students. Next, I'm going to talk about music in the English classroom. So using music as different tools. The first one is music for focus and relaxation. This is a pretty simple one, just using music in the background. This would probably be with like mellow sounds or repetitive beats to get students to stimulate their creativity. And this could be when they're working alone or in the background of a group activity. And then music as a tool for engagement. Music to engage you can involve playing different musical works and having students describe the musical qualities in English, or it could have them analyzing lyrics in English to practice learning new vocabulary, or even translating lyrics from a student's native language to English and back and forth, that sort of thing. Then music as a tool for cultural connection. This can involve discussing different musical genres and comparing them, and exploring the emotional side of music, how it makes us feel. And the last one, music as a tool for comparison. I'm going to be focusing on this for the presentation because it's probably the one people are the least familiar with. It's going to be talking about how language form and rhythm and music form and rhythm have similarities. And specifically for the sake of time and familiarity, I'm going to be focusing on the English language and Western musical form and rhythm. So for Western musical form and the English language, I was talking about, for example, pop music. This is a really common one that students will probably have at least some knowledge on. And the form of pop music is nice to talk about because it's pretty simple form. Verse, chorus, so different and same. So this can be interesting when it relates to English sentence structure and paragraph structure. You have sentences that follow a similar form, and then you have completely different sentence structure. Or for paragraphs, this could relate to pop music. For instance, pop music has an introduction, it has verses, it has refrains, then it has a chorus, but there's also bridges and outros. So these relate to a paragraph structure that you might encounter reading an essay. There's an introduction. So bridging these connections for students can help maybe make them more interested in whatever they are reading or studying. And then you could compare this to different musical forms and other languages, which I wish I had time to discuss. But for instance, Javanese gamelan from Indonesia uses a cyclical form of music. So that's a completely different kind of structure. And a fun activity for students would be comparing freeform music and creative writing. So for freeform music and creative writing, you're kind of just creating freely and like that, just letting the ideas flow out of you. So you could try having students write to different genres freely. So creative writing to different genres, and that could then compare like what genre they like to write to and what kind of words that come to mind with those genres. Rhyming words in lyrics is another way that form of music compares to language. And oftentimes in music, musicians will say a musical phrase is compared to a sentence. So I'm going to look at this example right here. It's pretty common little song. I think it's a lullaby, but twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. You can see clearly there are sentences here. And then twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. That's the final sentence. So if you're looking for rhyming, you can compare where the rhymes are. And if you notice, the rhymes are at the ends of the phrases. What the words that rhyme with the most, you can notice the type of words they are. They focus most on the, I'm not English, but like the grammar is the verb. What is the word? Star. It's focusing on an open sound, which I'm blanking on right now, but maybe you know what I'm talking about. But maybe you can bring that up in the discussion later, what your thoughts are on that. And then for Western rhythm and English language, connecting rhythm in music to rhythm in the English language, specifically stressed versus unstressed syllables. This is kind of what I was talking about with Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The stressed syllables have a vowel sound. That's what I was going with. So in Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, what you're noticing, the stress syllable in the words is a vowel sound, R, or twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So comparing that to language is something that could be interesting for students. And then vocal music might provide a direct access to the relationship between speech and music. And this is a study some researchers suggest that rhythm pattern could be a result of specific rhythmic components in languages. I'll read that again. Rhythmic pattern could be a result of specific rhythmic components in languages. And they were looking at Western languages specifically, and actually Scottish music. So this is a little passage from a Scotch snap, which I will now demonstrate for you. We always are ready. Steady, boys, steady. And I'll do it one more time. We always are ready. Steady, boys, steady. And a Scottish snap is the 16th note and a dotted 8th note. So you can see it here, if you can see me pointing. Right here and right here. And the 16th note is placed on the downbeat of the song with the dotted 8th note following immediately afterwards. And this clearly emphasizes the first syllable in the rhyming words, ready and steady. So this could be a form to kind of connect these concepts with students. I'd love to talk about it more, but for the interest of time, if you want to check out this link at the bottom, it has like the whole study on it, and I think it's pretty interesting. And then as far as musical practice methods go, so musicians practice a lot on their own, whereas with language, you kind of think you need somebody else to practice in order to improve. And however, I think students need to have the skills and knowledge to work through problems and new materials on their own. And looking at how musicians do this could cover some useful tools for language learners. So for example, analyzing the music before playing, looking at the form, looking at repeated phrases, looking for unfamiliar notes and rhythms. This is a very, very important thing for musicians, maybe overlooked by language learners. So you can have people look at for the main ideas, looking at unfamiliar vocabulary, unfamiliar like sentence structure or grammar. Another one would be the repetition of challenging musical phrases. This is like something musicians do all the time. It's aimed at accuracy and it's aimed at increasing the speed. So if language learners are having trouble developing their fluency and speed of speaking, having them repeat things over and over but accurately can help to gain some speed with their talking and hopefully achieve fluency. Memorization techniques are really useful if students are giving a presentation, going from small chunks to larger chunks. So working on just a small phrase to a full idea can be helpful for students to gaining higher memorization techniques with their presentations. And also movement activities. These are really useful for musicians because it helps you to feel the way the piece is flowing and understanding it beyond the written music. And with language is also about feeling. So feeling it internally in the body, movement activities. I wish I could go more in depth with this because I think it's really important how those two subjects are similar in that way. And then I have a few more, but musical gestures can convey emotions. And in language, we can do the same thing. But it is important not to rely too heavily on either of them because then you become dependent. So oftentimes you see a musician that's really using a lot of gestures and you kind of wonder if they have the musical skills to actually convey what they're saying. But recording yourself, this is another one that nobody wants to do, but it is very helpful. And music teachers frequently require their students to record themselves performing. However, when I was studying Spanish in high school, I never had to record myself. So I think it can be overlooked. And then sight reading. This is also another one that really nobody wants to do. This involves like looking at a music really briefly, and then you don't get a chance to play it, and then you have to play the whole thing with the goal being as accurately as possible. So you have to quickly analyze something and process it on the spot. And this is another strategy that could help language learners grow their ability to quickly process information. So I'd be interested to see how you could merge those two together. And then lastly, preparing for performances to combat performance anxiety. It can be intimidating for students to do this, so teachers will have to put these students in these positions and support them so that they can really grow their ability to speak in public, because it's something I think that needs to be more done in the language classroom, and something that I struggled with definitely, like with as a musician and in English class, just putting myself out there. And it's something I really had to work hard on to improve. And I think that if teachers offer the support to give students a chance to practice their presentations before they do that, I think that that would really make them feel comfortable with doing presentations. And then here's some resources for teachers. So this first one is a lyrics training, so you can practice filling in words to your favorite songs. Anyone can do this. This is also one you could do on your own. It's a bunch of music games if you want to brush up on your musical knowledge. And then two little informational things on understanding the rhythm of English language, which honestly, working on this presentation has been really interesting. I really want to learn more about that. And then the last one, just like some fun music for students to study too. So thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope that you got something out of it. And thanks again.
Thank you, Lexa. Could you